Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are reading with the Course Companions group. We are in Chapter 18, The Blessing of the Holy Relationship, and this is Section 6, Beyond the Body. And this is day 231, I believe, of the Course Companions group with Emily Bennington and Robert Perry. Reading out of the complete and annotated edition of A Course in Miracles, edited by Robert Perry. If you'll please close your eyes and join me in prayer. Dear Father, please enable me to set aside everything that I think I know about everything. A Course in Miracles, you, myself, this world, my brother, forgiveness, etc. Please enable me to have an open mind for a new experience in all of these things. Thank you, Father. Amen. Beyond the body, there is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn, for it is in that realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place or a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness, and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? The belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and the knowledge of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You have displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your body deceive yourself. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered into it, and it would remain separate, which it cannot do. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. Its guilt, which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies because it is attacked to hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its unity. Mind cannot attack, and we'll go down and read footnote 20. The reason that mind cannot attack is because minds are continuous with each other and are invulnerable. Attack assumes separate forms that can collide with and damage other separate forms, a situation that does not pertain to minds. So although minds can have the intent to attack, they cannot truly attack each other. But it can, so mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. But it is never what the body does that seems to satisfy. Unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies, it will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. And now we will go down and read footnote 21. To clarify the pronouns, unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out the mind's fantasies, the mind will attack the body by increasing the projection of the mind's guilt upon the body. In this, the mind is clearly delusional. It cannot attack, but it maintains it can and uses what it does to hurt the body to prove it can. The mind cannot attack, but it can deceive itself, and this is all it does when it believes it has attacked the body. It can project its guilt, but it will not lose it through projection. And though it clearly can misperceive the function of the body, it cannot change its function from what the Holy Spirit establishes it to be. The body was not made by love, but love does not condemn it and can use it lovingly, respecting what the Son of God has made and using it to save him from illusions. Would you not have the instruments of separation reinterpreted as means for salvation and used for purposes of love? Would you not welcome and support the shift from fantasies of vengeance to the hope of release from them? Your perception of the body can clearly be sick, but project this not upon the body. For your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. And what God created is only what he would have it be, being his will. You cannot make his will destructive. You can make fantasies in which your will conflicts with his, but that is all. It is insane to use the body as the scapegoat for guilt, directing its attack and blaming it for what you wished it to do. It is impossible to act out fantasies, for it is still the fantasies you want, and they have nothing to do with what the body does. It does not dream of them, and they but make it a liability where it could be an asset. For fantasies have made the body your enemy, weak, vulnerable, and treacherous, worthy of the hate which you invest in it. How has this served you? You have identified with this thing you hate the instrument of vengeance and the perceived source of your guilt. You have done this to a thing that has no meaning, proclaiming it to be the dwelling place of the Son of God and turning it against him. This is the host of God that you have made, and neither God nor his most holy Son can enter an abode which harbors hate, and where you have sown the seeds of vengeance, violence, and death. This thing you made to serve your guilt stands between you and the other minds. The minds are joined, but you do not identify with them. You see yourself as locked in a separate prison, remote and unreachable, as incapable of reaching out as being reached. You hate the prison that you made and would destroy it. Yet you would not escape from it, leaving it unharmed, without your guilt upon it. But only thus can you escape. The home of vengeance is not yours. The place you set aside to house your hatred is not a prison, but an illusion of yourself. The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication, which is an eternal property of mind. But the communication is internal. Mind reaches to itself. It is not made up of different parts which reach each other. It does not go out. Within itself it has no limits, and there is nothing outside it. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely, you within it and it within you. There is nothing else, anywhere or ever. The body is outside you and seems to surround you, shutting you off from others and keeping you apart from them and them from you. It is not there. There is no barrier between God and his Son, nor can his Son be separated from himself except in illusion. This is not his reality, though he believes it is. Yet this could only be if God were wrong. God would have had to create differently and to have separated himself from his Son to make this possible. He would have had to create different things and to establish different orders of reality, only some of which were love. Yet love must be forever like itself, changeless forever and forever without alternative. And so it is. You cannot put a barrier around yourself because God placed none between himself and you. Your hand can stretch out and reach to heaven. You whose hands are joined have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourselves, to reach your shared identity together. Could this be outside you where God is not? Is He a body, and did He create you as He is not, and where He cannot be? You are surrounded only by Him. What limits can there be on you whom He encompasses? Everyone has experienced what he would call a sense of being transported beyond himself. This feeling of liberation far exceeds the dream of freedom sometimes experienced in the special relationship. It is a sense of actual escape from limitations. If you will consider what this transportation really entails, you will realize that it is a sudden unawareness of the body and a joining of yourself and something else in which your mind enlarges to encompass it. It becomes part of you as you unite with it, and both become whole as neither is perceived as separate. What really happens is that you have given up the illusion of a limited awareness and lost your fear of union. The love that instantly replaces it extends to what has freed you and unites you with it. And while this lasts, you are not uncertain of your identity and would not limit it. You have escaped from fear to peace, asking no questions of reality, but merely accepting it. You have accepted this instead of the body and have let yourself be one with something beyond it, simply by not letting your mind be limited by it. This can occur regardless of the physical distance that seems to be between you and what you join, regardless of your respective positions in space, and of your differences in size and seeming quality. Time is irrelevant. It can occur with something past, present, or anticipated. The something can be anything and anywhere: a sound, a sight, a thought, a memory, even a more general idea without specific reference. We'll go down and look at footnote 22. This seems to refer to the peak experiences that are often sparked by things like listening to music or seeing a beautiful scene in nature. But in every case, you join it without reservation, because you love it and would be with it, and so you rush to meet it, letting your limits melt away, suspending all the laws your body obeys, and gently setting them aside. There is no violence at all in this escape. The body is not attacked, but merely properly perceived. It does not limit you merely because you would not have it so. You are not really lifted out of it. It cannot contain you. You go where you would be, gaining, not losing, a sense of self. In these instants of release from physical restrictions, you experience much of what happens in the holy instant: the lifting of the barriers of time and space, the sudden experience of peace and joy, and above all, the lack of awareness of the body and the questioning whether or not all this is possible. It is possible because you want it. The sudden expansion of the self that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the laws of limit lifted for you, to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. Come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace, not through destruction, not through a breaking out, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join you there simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed on love and joined it where it is and where it led you, in answer to its gentle call to be at peace. And now I will read Robert Perry's commentary on this beautiful section, lesson 231, section 6, Beyond the Body, and we are in chapter 18. To be honest, I've always considered this section to be somewhat dense and difficult and maybe even a bit scattered, but as I was reading it last night and this morning, it suddenly seemed very simple. It all coalesced around a single simple idea. There is no physical wall, the body, around my mind that separates me from all else. Perhaps the best place to start is with the section's opening line. There is nothing outside you. We shouldn't think of heaven as this place where we float around playing harps on clouds. Likewise, we shouldn't think of the sonship as a collection of separate members who have to reach out to connect with each other. Technically speaking, we reach God and our brothers not by reaching out, but by reaching in. Our mind is continuous with theirs. Together, we are not a collection of different rooms in the same building. It's all one room. All the spaces in it are one space. Heaven itself is nothing more than the awareness of this oneness. Here then is a vision of a completely mental reality in which there are no physical partitions to cordon off bits of mind from each other. None of this mental reality is outside my mind, and so to reach it, I simply need to reach into my mind. Why then does my reality seem so physical? It's because I am using the body to conjure up the illusion of being something else, something separate. There appear to be three different parts of this. First, I use my body to convince myself that my mind is a separate entity. My mind has chosen separation, but it's not separate. To produce the illusion of separation, then, my mind identifies with my body, which is separate. I therefore assign to the mind the properties of the body. I imagine that my mind is a quasi-physical entity locked inside a solid physical entity. Isn't that how we feel? Second, I use my body to convince myself that my mind can attack. According to the Course, mind cannot attack because mind is continuous with the rest of mind. How can one sector of a lake attack another sector? But my body can attack, so I tell myself that my fantasies of attack and vengeance, which we have examined in some detail over the last few chapters, can genuinely come true if I direct my body to act them out. Third, I feel guilty for the first two, for separating and attacking. The obvious solution is to blame my body. It makes me separate. Its animal instincts make me attack. It's like I'm locked inside a large robot that I can't climb out of and that robs banks of its own accord, with me along for the ride. Deep down, therefore, I hate this body. On that deep level, we all hate our bodies. However implausible this may seem, the evidence for this is that they get sick, they get old, and they die. They are like a plant being shriveled and scorched and ultimately killed by the intense glare of our subconscious hate. Blaming the body for our separateness and our attacks may seem like a knee-jerk way to escape our guilt, but it's more than that. It's a way to cement our separateness in place. If the body is the cause of our separateness and attacks, then our hands are tied. Separation and aggression are being foisted on us by an outside power. And that's where we are today. We don't want to be separate, but our minds are locked inside these skulls. We don't want to attack, but nature endowed us with a killer instinct. It appears that there is nothing we can do about it. In fact, though, the situation is the other way around. We are still boundless mind, and there's nothing we can do about that. The body only seems to surround you. In truth, it's not there. There is no actual boundary that imprisons your mind, shutting you off from others. This is an extreme claim, but Jesus offers evidence. In paragraphs 12 through 15, he talks about a fairly familiar experience in which we feel ourselves unite with a sound, a sight, a thought, a memory, even a more general idea without specific reference. We forget everything else and feel transported as we join with a piece of music, a beautiful scene in nature, or even a beautiful idea. These moments are the proof that the mind is not confined to the body. That mind can go where it wants, do what it wants, because in reality, the body is not there. I really encourage you to sit with this idea today. You've used your body to convince yourself that you are isolated and alone, that all the best things are outside you, beyond your reach. But in fact, your body is not there. Thank you so much for joining with me. Lesson 231 in the Course Companions reading schedule, Section 6, Beyond the Body. I love you.